afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining. My name is George Bontea, and I'm a solutions consultant with Drift in Europe. I'm based out of London in the UK. And for the next 45 minutes or so, I'll be your good host for today, and I'll walk you through anything and everything Drift. And we'll get started with the agenda. So let's have a look and make sure that all the tooling is working as expected. Right, straight into the intro. So again, George, I will be walking you through the presentation here today, but equally excited to be talking to this crowd today. Thank you, everybody, for taking time out of your day. I know it's in the middle of the day. It's 2 in the UK and also 3 on the good old continent. And today we're basically going to start the conversation with a couple of topics that you may have seen already from the actual agenda for today. We're going to talk about qualification of traffic. We're going to talk about different ways to engage with your visitors and clients, and also touch on what other products make up the Drift platform and kind of review some of these things in a bit more detail. Before we get started, though, I was thinking before the presentation here today, and I was getting quite excited about talking to yourselves. And I realized that if I was to think of one thing that a lot of websites do have in common today, particularly as I think about B2B websites, is, well, you only have one website, really, right? And I don't mean your German translation. I don't mean your French version or your Dutch website, because I know you do. I really mean that the audiences are so diverse these days, and the requirements are so complex, but unfortunately, sometimes the website is not necessarily fit for purpose. So what do I mean there? Think about it. If I'm a prospect, or if I'm a target account, if I'm a trialist, even if I'm somebody like, say, I'm an investor, or I'm a partner, alliances, or I'm a job seeker, you have the one website that is trying hard to cater to all of these personas and not always succeeding. And as we look at the B2B process in general, we already know there's a lot of friction. To be honest with you, I'm also guilty of this. I may have helped with creating the process that we currently have. So I'll take a second to pause on this slide so you can digest what's going on in here. Of course, the funnel as we know it, right? From ads to forms, from forms to routing, and hopefully somebody in sales. Hello to my sales people on the call today. We're going to be talking about you and with you a lot here today, hoping that that goes through and we are able to engage with that audiences. But we know that this journey doesn't cut it anymore. And what does it mean actually? When we look at the market in general, and what does it actually mean when it doesn't cut it anymore? I know there's a lot of stats on this page, and obviously if you're watching the recording, you can pause, you can always go back and look at these, or we can share the slides. The bottom line is, not only do we know that conversion can happen anywhere between 1% or 2%, but we've come to accept that as the standard, and we're quite happy with it. But really what happens there is that we know for a fact that a lot of these users are not filling out their forms. And even worse, sometimes, as you can see in this third pie chart to the right in blue, not even companies follow up all the time. So what does it mean, not on the one hand side to the funnel, and on the other side, what does it mean to the actual opportunities being missed, or to the user engagement? You probably read it on a couple of slides earlier about my profile. I'm quite excited about user experience, and I've been in user experience for probably the most of the last 11 years. And I know for a fact, and many of you marketers here on the call today will also remember and agree perhaps, that if my website takes anything longer than 4 seconds to load, probably up to 40% of the folks that are trying to get in there will just abandon. They'll go back to Google search, they'll go back to another website, and that's 4 seconds. What if we take 5 minutes to engage with a prospect? What if we take 30 minutes? What if we take 24 hours? Obviously, the implications are immense. But we know that folks have done it well, and you'll recognize many of these logos. I use some of these logos on a regular basis myself. But again, you'll tell me, hey, George, this is B2C. And of course, yes, it is B2C. But let me tell you why I'm saying this. Obviously, Google has removed the friction from searching and finding information. Uber has done the same from getting access to public transportation, similar to Netflix, which I'll be touching on in a moment as well. But the byproduct of this, they have removed friction. They've tremendously improved the user experience in B2C for sure, but they have set a huge standard. And you and I both know that outside of this room and outside of our daily routines, we are all consumers to a certain extent. I'll give you my example. When I go online to shop, I'm expecting same day, if not next day delivery as the standard. And I'm expecting that to be free. And I'm expecting returns to be free as well. And when I'm binge watching my series, I'm expecting for my provider to not only acknowledge where I was yesterday, where I left, and to be able to resume exactly from there, but I'm also expecting them to be able to recognize the genres that I like, make recommendations, again, without me doing much of the work. And what this has caused, while removing friction in B2C, has caused huge expectations as we go back into our B2B personas and we start interacting with business websites as business buyers. We will always say it doesn't have to be this way. And then you probably ask, okay, well, what do you do different? How do you do it better in B2B? And I think what we're preaching, and we're preaching what we're practicing here at Drift, is that we like to put the customer at the core of every engagement, whether it's preparing for new business, whether we're qualifying the traffic and we're preparing for that, whether we're retaining that, or we're looking to upsell and find new opportunities. Delivering a great user experience, regardless of where that user is in their journey through your funnel, in their outcomes or expectations, we think it's fundamental. And if we do that while we're catering for anything, whether it's a sales engagement, a deflection to support, a deflection to self-service or to other channels, that should work. However, it also means that sometimes you're better off not connecting a lead with sales. And I know you're probably going to be thinking, what are you talking about? And what I have in mind is really making sure that we are meeting the client where they are. And when I say that, I don't mean just where they are in their buying cycle versus your funnel, but also where they are in their own terms, how they want to get approached, how they want to connect with you and your brand, and most importantly, the channel or the multi-channels that they prefer, because nobody wants to be pounced on. Nobody wants to be pushed straight to sales if they're not ready to have that conversation. And this is really what kind of takes us into the topics of the day. And talking about how you qualify, how do you cut through the noise and you find that high quality traffic on your website? Because we know you have it, we know it's already there. And if you have doubts, we can work with you to prove who are these particular personas and how you can engage with them. But let's have a look at the sort of landscape first and understand what are the challenges to be able to do that successfully. I know we've said it, other people have said it as well. 1% to 2% conversion means that a lot of the site visitors, most of them will never talk to sales, will never get to sales. And the good news is, of course, we can do something about it. And what I'm going to try to explain, or really to help visualize in the first part of our demonstration here today, is if you could join me in a sort of a imaginary journey of a user and prospect versus company, and see how they would engage with a particular brand. And just to put a bit of context in here, and to set the roles to understand who's going to be who, I'm going to be me. I'm going to be SDR George, obviously not an SDR just yet, but our prospect is somebody called Josh. Josh is an amazing guy who works in marketing. He's a marketing expert, and he's looking to acquire a new marketing automation platform. And as part of his research, he'll go online, he'll read materials, he'll do his searches, he'll go on blogs, then eventually land on a vendor's website, research that solution, express some sort of intent and qualification. And then, of course, we'll also see how the brand can engage with Josh from there. So let's have a look and see what that journey looks like. Now, what you will see in a moment now on my screen is basically a prospect. So on the top left-hand side, it says, this is your prospect. This is what prospect Josh is basically doing online right now in this story that we're trying to walk you through. And everything starts, as many times it starts with a Google search, and he's looking for the best marketing automation platforms out there. And the reason why I'm showing you this screen here today is to say that on the one hand side, if you look at the ad in the middle, that one that says Business Adobe, that is the small chance that with the paid ad, Adobe has to capture the attention of this particular buyer of SDR, of Josh, prospect Josh, but also not just the small opportunity, also the small window of time, whether that is his attention span, the speed with which he navigates the search engine. And also, if you take a step back to what I said to you earlier about having only one website, what generally happens from here, as soon as he clicks that ad to follow through to the website, well, the same website happens for everybody. Of course, there are some customization, personalization tools out there, but whether I'm coming from a paid ad, whether I'm existing client, whether I'm a partner or a job seeker, chances are I'm going to get the same experience on this Marketo website, who's the vendor today for Prospect Josh. But rest assured, this is not the situation today. So what we're seeing, if we were to go on to Marketo today, it's basically what you can see here in the bottom right of my screen. So, hey Drift, thanks for coming all the way from Google. Can I ask you a question? And let me just break that down for you for a quick second. First off, hey Drift. Now, what happens here is behind the scenes, inside of the platform, we leverage a service that is referred to as Drift Intel. Drift Intel performs a series of user and visitor intelligence analysis that allows us to determine things like IP address lookup, but also it enables us to be able to pull company firmographics in real time to understand how many employees in that particular company or the revenue of that company, but also to be able to understand if this is a repeat visit and what the source is. So if you think about it, for those of us who are already spending digital budget on PPC to drive this traffic over to our website, imagine that what Drift offers here for Marketo is an extension of that journey. So really, we're personalizing where that journey started in Google, we're acknowledging the visit, and we're continuing that with a tailored approach. In addition to this, another option that I could be delivering for my prospect Josh here, if you look in the bottom right of the screen, it now says, welcome back, Drift. So with Drift Intel, we're able to understand who the company is. We're now also able to understand this is a repeat visit because obviously prospect Josh has been repeatedly coming back to the website, and he's also engaged with a piece of content. In this particular case, he attended the Adobe Summit with the CMO of Adobe. So what we're doing here, we're really acknowledging that fact, and this is what now creates that tailored, personalized, and highly memorable experience that is tailored to this particular prospect, tailored particularly to their journey. So you see the options here. Basically asking about attending the webinar. I'm going to say it was great. And what the bot does from here basically follows up with a almost like human to human, like conversational way of addressing my prospect. And what I'm going to try here for you is something a little bit different. So instead of kind of going on the buttons, selecting the various options, you also notice that we're meeting the buyers where they are. And we're also trying to figure out, what do you want to do? I don't want to push you to sales. I don't want to pounce on you, but do you want to pick up where we left? Do you want to connect with somebody, or do you want to do something completely different? So what I'm going to do here, I'm basically going to say, let's just make this tricky for our bot today and say, how do you as Marketo compare to, let me just correct the typo, to HubSpot? Now, this may scare a lot of people. What do you do when you leave open field answers or questions to the public? And you will see here that the bot actually acknowledges that. And the way we do this, you notice it says, while HubSpot, fantastic tool, companies like Drift, again, personalizes the brand name, the company name, and also the journey, and provides this experience through the use of an AI-powered bot, is something that here at Drift we refer to as virtual selling agents. Now, an AI bot or a virtual selling agent could look and sound like your best-selling agents, whether that's SDRs, BDRs, or AEs, but it's something that learns based on your own interactions and is in line with your brand, is aligned with your corporate voice, and it's obviously aligned with your compliance too. So far, so good. This is giving me exactly what I'm hearing, but perhaps I don't want to just chat with an expert right now. What if I say that I want to learn more? Here we go. And indeed, it's doing exactly that. It's providing me, again, competitive differentiators. It's providing me that information that I was looking for to make sure that I cater for that great user experience that I was referencing earlier. So if at this point, we always talk about VSAs or AI-driven bots as being capable to to carry almost human-like conversations, but they also support things like multi-turn conversations, just like a human to human do, or intent sensing, to understand that this user is now giving me the right signs in addition to the other signs that I'm getting from the user journey, from the content they're engaging with. And they say something like, I'd like to talk to the team, or a human representative, or whatever that phrase may be, will be able to understand this. And only now you notice it acknowledges it, just like you would, again, in a normal human to human conversation. And at this stage, it's basically qualifying me further to say, well, who are you? What are you trying to achieve? And I'm actively pursuing a solution. And because I'm already registered here, I've been attending webinars and I've been consuming content. I'm part of the funnel already as I'm progressing. It's now offering me a calendar invite, and I can just select the day and the time and scheduling that as it comes. So everything you've seen here today so far has been driven by a bot. It's allowed me to tailor the conversation, keep it relevant, personalized, but also automate that for the purpose of productivity. So somebody like SDR, George, for example, here, whether this was 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. like it is here today in the UK, it didn't matter. We're not available as a sales team. I will be able to put out a calendar invite. If I'm available, I'm able to route a human representative into the conversation. And really, again, the purpose here was to remove the friction and the barrier to accessing content, achieving my goals as an individual, as a buyer, that are then aligned with the outcomes of the business, and in the process, do that with relative ease as well. Finally, we will be talking today about target accounts. If I was a target account, if I was one of those VIPs that I would be attending the website, in a moment on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a notification. That's what my sales team would get in real time, knowing that a VIP account, one of my target accounts that I'm excited to work with, is there. But also, while on the right-hand side, I'm getting my notification that Drift and Josh from Drift is on my demo page, the actual user experience will be tailored and different for someone like Drift, because they're part of my target accounts. They will be assigned a name and a face, and also I can create a message that is specifically tailored for them, something that we refer to as a playbook, or as a bot flow that allows me to engage with them and progress them through the funnel. So let's just take a step back and look at what we've seen so far. We've seen prospect Josh get onto the website, and we've seen him engage with the brand, doing his research. What we were able to do at this stage is to be able to greet someone with like Josh in the right fashion at the right time, considering his circumstances and personalizing that, while enabling folks like, for example, sales teams to have an opportunity to have the momentum and deliver on that advantage of getting in front of Josh and capturing his attention. In addition to this, you will also see how Drift here allows us to progress the user through their experience, always driving towards their outcome and aligning their outcomes with the business's outcome, and in the process be able to qualify that, therefore cutting through the noise. Again, if you remember what I was saying earlier, if it's a job seeker, if it's someone that's a client looking for support, if it's a partner looking for their context, we would be able to understand, deflect, educate, nurture, and do what is best for the client, for the user, based on their respective conditions. And finally, if we need to loop in an SDR, like we just did by offering George's calendar right here, we can do so regardless of the time of the day. Again, giving you the ability to be online, be present 24/7, 365, and of course, taking it from there to establish and determine success. So that is one of those first flows, and really where we feel that Drift can help unlock the opportunity that 98-99% of the visitors that really hardly ever get to sales. Now, in the second part of the demonstration, I'm going to try to walk us through different ways to engage with website visitors. And I think I was mentioning, and I was showing you earlier, the example with target accounts. I believe that could be a very meaningful way to, and probably a good opportunity to show you that Drift is one platform that connects and brings together not just marketing, but also sales. And in the process creates greater visibility, better alignment, and now an opportunity to not just capitalize on your ROI spend for inbound, for digital marketing, but also to now be able to use that same platform with all of that knowledge and intent data to perform outreach and outbound motions too. And of course, we understand why this is important, right? Many of you here on the call today probably are aware of this more than I am. A lot of folks do their homework, do their due diligence, as you probably did before joining this session here today. A lot of that, more than 65%, happens before we actually connect with yourselves. And naturally, almost the entire sales process is digital. So how do we cut through the noise? And how do we, as part of those outbound motions, how do we stay personalized, memorable, but also relevant to the user that can now choose to engage with us as opposed to another vendor? Now, the actual story or the sort of journey that I would like to invite you on as far as outbound is concerned is going to be a little bit simpler, because I will be wearing the hat of SDR George. And I would like to use this as an opportunity for a day in the life of, right? While for inbound, it's pretty clear how we can cut through the noise, and we can always talk about more ways of engaging and personalizing these experiences. Sometimes it's hard to do that in the same platform with the same tooling to be able to reach out and also be able to have one single pane of glass for various engagement across multiple channels. So let's see how I can actually get us to the seller view. In the seller view, pretending again that I am SDR George and I'm starting my day, I have a list of all my accounts. I can filter and create different views for those that have open opportunities or for those that have been recently added. For the purpose of the actual demonstration, just know that this list of target accounts is a random list for the purpose of our demonstration, but I'll pretend like I want to start my day in an alphabetical order, for example, and I'll just get going with Acme Incorporated or with Acme Co. This is the view that Drift helps aggregate for SDRs, AEs, BDRs in their outbound motions, which now allows me to do a series of things. On the one hand side, you will notice here at the very top, we give you visibility into the actual account engagement. So let's see if I can do this in a better way. There we go. So on my screen right there, you see engagement score. It's a 5 out of 5, extremely engaged. Drift helps you calculate the engagement score of this account, determines things like non-homepage visits, high intent page visits, meetings booked, chats, webinars attended, white papers downloaded, etc., to perform this score calculation. And going beyond that, it now also allows me to uncover the buying committee. So you see a lot of stakeholders, and along with their recent activity here towards the bottom of that same screen. And on the right-hand side, you can probably also notice about the account details. Again, this is powered by Drift Intel, even in the absence of a CRM integration. But of course, we will be integrating with your CRM, with your marketing automation platform, with your calendar to be able to give you that 360 view of the client as well as the team. So that sets things into context, allows me to discover who else. Even you notice here at the bottom, site visitor in blue, it's an anonymous user. I haven't discovered who they are yet, but I can tell that a series of folks have been engaged with my content and how emails opened, meetings booked, site visits, etc. And if I'm looking at someone like Leslie, for example, who's a VP, let's just say she's a VP of marketing, for example, and I want to reach out to talk to Leslie about our marketing automation offering, I can do so over email. This is fully integrated with your email account. I can do so over LinkedIn. I can do so over sequences in Outreach or SalesLoft. And to give you another visualization of that, I'm just basically going to click on email and create a new engagement for Leslie. So the question is, how do we provide a better client engagement? How do we do that? And therefore, in the process, being able to close deal faster, but how do we tailor this to the actual outreach? Now, I could say to Leslie that I know your CEO is engaged with our content. I've noticed that another member of the team in engineering has attended a meeting. You guys have been downloading the white paper, so it puts those things into context. But in addition to this, I can use Drift. I don't know if you can see this at the bottom of my screen with that blue lightning. Drift email is also allowing me to track this email, to know when this email was open, to know which links were clicked, and allows me that visibility into the user preferences and the user journey. But in addition to that, in the receiving end, as soon as this user returns after engaging with my email, they can have an intrinsically different experience than a generic user that reaches us from a Google search or from a direct link as well. So for the purpose of the demonstration here, I'm not going to talk just about email. I'll also talk about calendars. Imagine I wanted to share some availability here. It's as simple as selecting that. Drift will do the rest, understanding where to leave breaks between meetings, providing the time to connect with this prospect. And if I really wanted to tailor this message completely, I now also have the option to use yet another channel, such as video, to make this memorable while contextualizing it fully. So here on the bottom right, you notice I have this menu that pops out and says record or insert a video. And what I would like to do here is go to my library. And from my library, I have this video that I've created for Leslie. So I can copy that and let's just give it a try. Here we go. This creates an animated GIF, a friendly face, somebody that is reaching out to them in a contextualized way, in a memorable fashion that now allows my message to stand out among perhaps dozens of other messages from all sorts of vendors. And eventually, as we go back to recap of what we looked at as part of the activities that SDR George is doing here for today, we're providing him and his team the insight into the user journey, the signals, the intent signals that the buyers have been exhibiting, not just on a personal level, but also as a buying committee. We can uncover various stakeholders inside of that organization. And in addition to that, we have that opportunity, that at-bat, as we refer to it, in creating that engagement with a meaningful message. And ultimately, whenever my user actually engages with that content, with that video that I created there for them, let's have a quick look at that. This is what they will experience, right? So they can play that video. And here on the right-hand side, I can connect with them again on chat. I can book a meeting and I can resume the conversation back to the website, back to the inbound team, back to the same point where it's originated. And any and every one of these intent signals have now been processed. They've been recorded against Drift, and now they can be exported to your CRM, which eventually stays the actual source of truth. And again, that's how we define success. So I hope this is clear and useful so far. The bottom line to the second part of this experience that we're catering for outbound motions is to be able to aggregate all of this intent signals from various stakeholders in the organization while we're catering and fully personalizing the outreach in a meaningful and memorable way. As far as the third and final part of our conversation here today, we're also going to talk about a breakdown of Drift's products. Now, as you're considering Drift is a platform that's made up of various functionalities that will be tailored to different buyers and different user personas and different journeys. As far as the service is concerned today, you will be able to see on the next slide that I'm going to show you shortly that it is composed of several functionalities, but they're all part of the same platform. And it is, I'm not going to say the only one, you'll be the judge of that, and don't take us for don't take our word for granted. Go out and check our case studies and see what our existing customer implementations are all about. It's the platform that really connects sales and marketing through conversational sales, conversational marketing under one umbrella of revenue acceleration. So if we're looking to drive more qualified pipeline, some of the ways that we're going to be tactically achieving that is through things like live chat, which I haven't explained, I haven't demonstrated just yet because the bot was doing that. But in the front end, the user experience will always be either email or video or live chat as far as the user experience is concerned. However, in the back end, a lot more intelligence, visitor intelligence, is being aggregated. We mentioned briefly Drift Intel that allows me to understand who the user is and address them. Drift Intel is powered by technologies like Clearbit and Sixth Sense, Zoom Info, Crunchbase, etc. And then, of course, from there, we also go into audiences. We are able to surface out to you the sort of firmographics of the companies that are following your website, how they're following your various campaigns through UTM sources and channels and methods, but ultimately be able to address all of that incoming traffic to talking about the qualification of that high quality traffic through things like the AI bot. Whenever we talk about the AI bot, it's actually a virtual selling assistant, right? So powered by a real machine-based learning mechanism. And finally, what you just saw in the latter section of my presentation here, referred to as prospector and video, that is something that's incorporated into what we refer to as our sales seat. So the sales seat is something that's built specifically for sales under the same umbrella, under the same platform of revenue acceleration. So really just to recap before we open it up for Q&A, I'm excited to hear some of the questions. I'm seeing a lot of pop-ups in chats and also questions. I'll be getting to some of those in just a minute. Just to recap, if you're thinking about Drift, and sometimes maybe the misconception is that, yeah, it's a chatbot. This gives you the opportunity to understand that it's a platform that goes way beyond chat into multi-channels for inbound, for outbound. But as we talk about chat in particular, it's fundamentally three pillars. We talk about live chat as we know it, human to human. We are making a lot of this conversation on a humanized, but eventually, if you want to, that prospect will get in front of a human member of your team. So that is one of the pillars there. The second one is the qualification bot, or those complex decision trees with complex routing behind the scenes to make sure that it goes to the right account owner, to the CRM account owner, to the team that's first available to remove friction. But the third and final one is also the AI, or the virtual selling assistant. And what this means to people like yourselves on the call here today is that we're also able to cater to three distinct scenarios. On the one hand side, we did talk about revenue acceleration. So obviously revenue or the bottom line, we always have to keep track of that. And be assured, rest assured, not only do we have the best practices, but we have the visibility into the KPIs, the specific ways to measure success, as well as recommended benchmarks. So we'll tell you where you are, where you can be, and how you've achieved success, and when do we know you've gotten there. But alongside with that, we're also helping control cost, as you've seen, by being able to help with email, calendar tools, video for outreach, as well as the chat, bots, qualification, and many other tools that are part of the service. This also allows us to perform cost consolidation, cost savings, such as expanding out to a new region without necessarily increasing headcount. And ultimately, as a third and final thing, also staying compliant, staying ahead of the curve, making sure that your organization is ready for the next challenge. These are all things that you can expect from the Drift platform. And really, as a final thought before we open it up to Q&A, I want to be respectful of your time here today. If there was a call to action, and if you want to learn more about how to go to market with Drift, what are some of our thoughts or ideas when it comes to meaningful user journeys and providing relevant context to be able to convert more qualified pipeline faster, do feel free to check out the Drift go-to-market guide. It's something that will cover